All right, welcome back to the sports show on the damn YouTube. We're checking out the greatest sports show ever produced. I'm talking about NFL Primetime. I'm telling you, back in the day, this show had it going on. This was the spot. On Sunday night, right before that primetime game was about to go down, Chris Berman, Tom Jackson, the music, the highlights. Man, it's hard to believe that this show is not on the air anymore. I do like Football Night in America, but it's just not the same as NFL Primetime. So let's check this out. Final episode, January 1st, 2006. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. Let's go.
New Year's Day, Judgment Day, an emotional day, perhaps for two of the all-time greats. One final day, Tony Dungy back. What a great sight that was. Did the Colts win one for their beloved head coach? In Kansas City, cheers for Dick Vermeil, who says so long. Do they have one final playoff ride in him? Or would the Bucs drive Pittsburgh into the postseason, Brett Favre? Lambeau Magic again, would it be a final goodbye to Green Bay? In the NFC South, are the Panthers
Jake Delhomme, holy shit, that's a blast from the past right there.
Season bound? Weighted in for the Skins, but they had their hands full in Philly. The Orange Cotton Fiesta Rose. It's the Bush Bowl. Who wins that game between Houston and San Francisco? New Year's Day on NFL Primetime.
NFL Primetime is presented by Miller Lite. Primetime is Miller time. And now, here's your host, Chris Berman.
Hello, everybody. We've been doing this little show for about 19 years now. It's called NFL Primetime. It's been our pleasure. I'm Chris Berman along with Tom Jackson. Tom, hey, look, part of the beauty of doing this job is that we don't get days like this very often.
That's right.
Emotion. We got maybe some goodbyes. We got some great plays. We got some unbelievable playoff stories. It was quite a...
Yeah, and at the end of the season, we finally get to the best part of the season where now the playoff picture is crystal clear for us.
You know what? One for the road.
One for the road.
Let's go. Let's have some fun. It was an emotional day for sure. And we started in Indianapolis where there was an outpouring of love for this man, Tony Dungy. That's Tony with his son, Eric. Junior high school son and the fans. I mean, you just knew it was with their hands and their voices. It was really their hearts coming out on the field. And Tony used to work for Dennis. We're longtime friends. Dennis, one of those that made the trip on Tuesday as they buried his son, James. Now to the game. Peyton Manning got hit early in this game against Arizona. It was quickly to see.
Get out of the game. Let's get ready for the playoffs.
Cardinals are trailing 17-10. And here's some history. Neil Rackers had 2 field goals, gives him 40 on the year, breaking the old mark set by Jeff Wilkins and Olindo Mare. Congratulations to him. Fitzgerald and Bolden became the third tandem of receivers to each have over 100 yards. Then, minute and a half to go, Josh. Tears of McCown fumbles at the one with Arizona about to go in. Arizona recovers Marcel Ship from
Massachusetts.
Dead stuff. Marcel Ship stuffed again. And then 4th and goal. 22 seconds. Josh McCown. Oh, no, it's a touchdown. Wow. They're going to go in and beat the Indianapolis.
Well, we're going to be pausing a lot just to give you guys a heads up. But Josh McCown, his brother Luke McCown, played for the Lions. I think he played for the Raiders, too, at some point. One of them did, between the two of them.
The official scored touchdown. Peyton. No way, it was a fumble. And now they review it to booth review. Tom, here's what they... Whoa!
Sure?
Yeah, and looks like right there you saw McCown get turned around right at the goal line. It's the same thing the officials saw.
Well, and they say no, it was a fumble. Rob Morris recovered it. There's the ball. There's Peyton. There's Tony. And there are the Colts. That little
14 and 2 Colts, excuse me. Sorgi, I think he came out of Wisconsin. He tore it up. My friend Phil on Madden, I think it would have been, so it was, 05 or 06, had a hell of a season, believe it or not, with him as quarterback. But these Colts teams, man, had it going on. Dwight Freeney, Reggie Wayne, Marvin Harrison. They had a tight end, too. Dallas Clark, and obviously Peyton, Joseph Adai on the backfield. Man, great teams that they put out there with Tony Dungy and the Colts.
2-game losing streak. What?
Well, look at that. Larry Fitzgerald and Anquan Bolden, too. Hell of a combination between the two of them. I think they got to the Super Bowl. They lost against Pittsburgh. I think they had still both of them on the same team at that point.
I mean, you can't even put into words what this last 10 days, what this week has been for the Indianapolis Colts and the Dungy family and the Colt family. But Indianapolis wins a game. They have, of course, a bye. They've long since known that. They win by the count of 17-13 as the play. Tony never wins one of those challenges.
I know.
Maybe
I know.
There was something special
Karma.
on afterwards, Coach Dungy.
It was special. I didn't really think about it much during the game, but what it symbolized to me is what a close-knit group we have, what a tight family we have, and I know those guys wanted to win that game for me, and wanted to do it for a lot of reasons, but I think they wanted to win it for me, and they came up with the effort to do it. So it'll be a reminder that how much I'll be proud of these guys from here on out. But it was special, definitely. We wanted to get this game for a number of reasons, but we wanted very much to end the season with 14 wins. It's been a neat year for us, and not that many teams have won 14 in the history of the league, so that was important. We wanted to do it the right way, using everybody, and I told the team that's what it was kind of like, a family win where everybody contributed, and that's what we're all about. So it was really neat.
How does he do it, Coach Dungy? And I mean, the game was at the balance of the. But what did the Colts accomplish? You heard Coach Dungy's take on it. What did the Colts accomplish today? Now they have a bye week, of course, well deserved. And Tony will have some time to take care of both situations, if that's not enough time, but at least it's some time.
Well, I think emotion plays a large part in this game. We both know that. So we saw a little bit of that today. I think we will see that tenfold when they get ready to play again the divisional round of the playoffs in 2 weeks. I think football-wise, I said this morning on Countdown, important that this team look pretty sharp regardless who was in the game. I think Coach would be fully satisfied with that. However, as every coach worth his salt will do, he will have things now that he feels like he has to work on to get his team ready to play in the playoffs. But I thought that they reestablished some sense of confidence today, and they won that game for Tony, which was important to all of them.
And when the Colts come out 2 weeks from now, that first quarter will be maybe unbelievable for them,
That's
or
correct.
maybe the quarter that you can get to. But hey, that's another discussion
yes.
for another time. An emotional day and a happy new year, and a better 2006. To the Dungy family. I think everybody out there feels that way. When we return on this New Year's Day edition of NFL Primetime, Jerome Bettis, an emotional day for him in Pittsburgh.
NFL Primetime, presented by Miller Lite.
And it's fitting on this edition of Primetime. It might be the last edition of Primetime. Primetime. Deion Sanders, little wide receiver today, takes the hitch. Actually, looked like lateral from Kyle Bowler in the Baltimore game in Cleveland. Charlie Fry, Cleveland rookie quarterback. It's Adelius Thomas takes it in, and this is a great scene. That's right, Ozzie Newsome, a great Brown, but of course the Ravens GM, and Adelius points to Ozzie Newsome at 13-0 Ravens. But Dennis Northcutt takes no shortcut, and what? He goes around the other way, and he could go all the way. 2 punt returns by Northcutt, callback line. Flags this year. He turned around and looked. He spent.
Who was another kickoff return that the Browns had? Help me out here, guys. What was his name? Damn it. Cribbs? Yeah, Josh Cribbs. Wasn't Cribbs a good return that day, if I'm not mistaken? I think this is a little bit before they got Cribbs.
Like 5-10 seconds, please. No play. And there, Deion leaves for the final time. A story.
Wow, Kyle Bowler. Holy shit. If I'm not mistaken, during the draft, before he came out of, was it Cal? He had an incredible throw. I think he threw 70 yards from his knees or some crazy shit like that. And Jamal Lewis, this dude, before he got busted selling drugs, was a monster out there at running back. Absolute beast. Throwing the hit stick on people. Trying to tackle him. Charlie Fry, what a hell of a bad quarterback he was for these bad Cleveland Browns teams. 6-10. Look at Baltimore 6-10. Even with that defense they had. Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs.
Career, he's added 14 NFL seasons, 50-plus interceptions, but the Browns win for the 6th time this year. So a team that won 4 last year, Romeo Crennel, won 6 times.
And that's the thing, Chris. Kudos to
Romeo
Crennel.
Crennel.
I think
Holy
he's brought
shit.
a positive attitude to the Cleveland Browns, something they've been looking for a long time, and much success for that team in his future.
An odd week in Cleveland. GM Phil Savage, what's going on with him? At any rate, but Cleveland ends with a victory on the field after the 41-0 debacle last week. Bills at the Jets. Jet fans, hey, We want Reggie Bush. We like you, but maybe if you don't win this time, come on, Jet fans, you're out to win, aren't you?
Well, isn't that amazing? I'm not sure what position the Jets ended up drafting at this point. I know Bush did get drafted by the Saints, so I think he was the 4th pick or 3rd pick. But imagine nowadays people clamoring for a running back in the draft. Time's so much different. Running backs devalued completely. Reggie Bush was special coming out of college, but if he came out nowadays, who knows? I don't think you'd be people holding up signs for a running back besides Saquon Barkley. And all discretion, running back's my favorite position, so I'm not trying to dog it out. Trust me, I love the running back position. But nowadays, you just don't see teams clamoring for that back.
Kelly Holcomb for Buffalo. Upset Cincy last week. Paul batted in the air by Kerry Rhodes. He fought the law, and the law won. Ty Law pick number one.
Ty
now
Law.
watch this. Damian Shelton shovels it to Mark Brown.
down.
Uh-oh, what's going on here? It's a pick. Mark Brown takes the gifts, and the Jets score. It's a 33-yard play. Then Mark Campbell out of his hands.
Give me that.
Into the hands of Ty Law. 3 picks today, Tom.
Ty Law, man, 3 interceptions he said on the day. Incredible stuff. Ty Law was a monster coming out of Michigan. He was involved in that Hail Mary play that they lost against Colorado. I thought about doing that maybe during the fall, put myself through the horror of reliving that. Cordell Stewart, that 70-yard bomb, where Ty Law, I think, was one of the defensive backs, but he had a hell of a career out there with New England. I actually forgot he was on the Jets at some point here.
For Ty Law, and then one of their high draft picks last year, one of the number 2s, Justin Miller. A little stiff arm on the kick return. This against Bill's special teams.
Bill's special teams been pretty good. Good blocking down the sideline.
Miller, gone. Jets beat the Bills 30-26. For Ty Law, his 3 interceptions give him 10.
Look at that name. Willis McGahee suffered that horrible injury against Ohio State in what, the 03 national championship game, Miami, against Ohio State, the Phantom. Pass interference out there in the end zone, but McGahee fell really low in the draft, obviously, because of that devastating injury. Still put up 22 yards, 22 rushes for 113 yards. Eric Moulds, too, was a great wide receiver.
On the year, he never had that much in any of his seasons with the Patriots. Gives him 46 for his career.
Yeah, approaching that magic 50 mark, and anybody who gets over 50, boy, have you had a great career in the NFL.
Absolutely, he already has. Knows where he'll be next year. When we return on NFL Primetime, Reggie Bush. Who would get him? Well, the Jets win, so they're out of the picture. That big San Francisco-Houston game moving, and then
Sean
history at
Alexander.
Lambeau. Not only Brett Favre, Sean Alexander trying to get into the record books. The Chicago Bears have won 10 of their last 11. Mike Tice, would this be his last game as coach?
I forgot. I see Mike Tyson. The first thing I thought of, for whatever reason, was that boat incident they had out there in Minnesota. Remember that? I don't remember the details, but I think they had a whole bunch of strippers and drugs or something like that on some kind of yacht or boat that the Vikings had.
To the Vikings, Rex Grossman didn't play. Kyle Orton, who led the Bears to most of those wins, hands it to Thomas Jones. Jones joins Walter Payton as the only Bears to rush for 1,300 yards in a season. He had a big year, Thomas Jones, one-time #1 draft pick elsewhere. 2 minutes left to go in the first half. Adrian Peterson stuffed in the middle. Boy, Kevin Williams, E.J. Henderson, turnover on downs. And so Lovie Smith, with his team down 10-3, watches the Vikings, who, remember, under Mike Tice, won 6 in a row. They got back into the hunt until
Wow, is that Brad Johnson? Holy shit, Brad Johnson still quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings at this point. I think he went to Tampa and ended up going back to Minnesota.
They were eliminated last week. Brad Johnson and Nate Burleson out of bounds. Stop the clock. 18 seconds to go. Johnson, Burleson. And smart play out of bounds. 7 seconds to go. Well, the Vikings using their head here in the 2-minute drill. Travis Taylor, beautiful play, touchdown, 17-3 the Vikes. And in a game they played for pride and to show everybody that they had a strong November and December. The Bears are already in at the 2 seed, and they have a bye next week. Minnesota, if it is the final.
All right, I'm kind of confused here. Vikings fans, help me out. Culpepper should have been on this team at this point. Is that when he left and went to, Miami? I thought that was a little bit later on. He must have had an injury. I think Randy Moss, too, at this point, is on the, the Raiders, I think. That must be what's going on here because I don't see any stats between the two of them.
Final time they're playing under Coach Tice, they did him well, and Mike Tice did a heck of a job here in writing this team.
Yeah, and Brad Johnson helped a lot
Yes.
with the quarterback position with Culpepper going down. What a marvelous job he did after he came in as their QB.
27 of 40 for Johnson and the Vikings and their season 9-7. The Bears moving on, obviously. Meanwhile, Jackson already knows they're the 5 seed.
Byron Leftwich.
Byron Leftwich was the 3 quarterback today. Will he be ready next week? But meanwhile,
Leftwich out of Marshall, man. I haven't heard Leftwich's name in a long time, but just looking back on it, man, out of college, he said out of Marshall, he had that game where I think he broke his leg, and they're carrying him to the line of scrimmage to finish. And check that out. It's actually pretty cool. But Leftwich, man, he had a strong arm. What the hell did happen to his career?
with David Garrard, who's gone 4-1 and instead losing one only to the Colts. That's Reggie Williams with a grab. LeBrandon Tofield had a few touchdowns last week, and he gets a leg up here. He had a 100-yard game, and the Jaguars are leading a team that used to give them all sorts of fits. Tennessee 14-0. Steve McNair didn't play. And this is Matt Jones, number 1 pick. He can throw the ball. Remember, he's quarterback.
Matt Jones, out of Arkansas, was a wide receiver, running back, and quarterback. I think he had some drug problems, which definitely derailed his career.
Quarterback. You forgot because he's wide receiver here. This is what they got him for. So he's 1 for 1, and then he catches a touchdown. So the Jags go on to humble Tennessee, 40-13. As we mentioned, 4-1 under Garrard. The Jags are 12-4 as a wild card team, and we should point out, Tom, that only 2 teams.
Wow, that is amazing. I actually forgot that Jacksonville had that good of a record in 2005 season, 12-4. Holy shit!
Since we've gone this direction, have had better records as a wild card team. Tennessee 13-3 in '99, and then there was a Saints team in the strike year that was 12-3. The Jags, dangerous. When we return. Larry Johnson, 8 straight 100-yard games. Could he make?
Larry Johnson, man, we talked about this. I forgot what video it was. A couple videos back, one of the highlight videos that we do. Check those out, please. But Kansas City had a monster group of running backs during the 2000s. Larry Johnson, Priest Holmes, good stuff.
Make it 9 or 200. We're giving away some of the plan. You haven't
Drop
seen
kick.
this in a long time, but Dougie Floaty had another magic trick up his sleeve. Whose idea was that? Visa Skycam gets you ready. Bill Parcells and the Cowboys at home against the St. Louis Rams.
Bill Parcells, coach of the Cowboys, man. I remember they had a matchup against New England. Might have been 2004, 2003, around that point in time. And, man, the hype leading up to that for him going against Belichick, obviously his old assistant coach and his old team when the Cowboys took on the Patriots. I think Drew Bledsoe was quarterback for the Cowboys at that point, if I'm not mistaken. Either that or, what's his name, Quincy Carter out of Georgia. He might have been the quarterback the more I think about it now. Bledsoe, I think, was on that roster, though. 2003, 2004, some shit like that.
Sunday Night Football finale, 8:30 Eastern Time. And now to the Super Bowl. Houston or San Francisco. One of them is going to, well, you would think has a shot at the first pick in Reggie Bush. David Carr, he was the first pick overall. Tough over the years. He hangs in and takes a licking from Brandon Moore. He would leave the game and would not return. Under a minute to go in the half, 10-0 Texans. Alex Smith. His first touchdown, number 1 pick this year to Brandon Lloyd. 150 passes and now a touchdown. Carr replaced by Tony Banks. Texans lead at Candlestick.
Tony Banks. Holy shit, Tony Banks out of Michigan State. I'll be damned. He was on the Rams for a long time. He was the starter out there on the Rams. Never put up any kind of significant numbers when he was in the NFL. The decent arm, though. Out of college in Michigan State. I remember they had a game against Nebraska. It must have been 95 or 96 for Michigan State. For whatever reason, scheduled the juggernaut team that was Nebraska at that time, and they got demolished. I think Nick Saban might have been head coach at that point, too.
Banks.
Ooh, give me that.
Off by Mike Adams. And Mike Adams is Agent 86 into the end zone. Touchdown. We're tied at 17. Chris Brown, 31-yard field goal.
Doink.
Oh, man. I mean, I know it's windy there. He's had a rough month. No good. We go to overtime. What's better than a Super Bowl than an overtime Super Bowl? Banks picked off by Adams again. And then tricky Niners. Laterals to Ben Emmanuel. Emmanuel into the Texan territory. All the way down to the 26 before he stopped. That sets up Joe Nedney for the win. Niners, good. You know what? They won 4 games for Mike Nolan, an improved squad, and they beat and
Don
probably
Capers.
We're not happy to do that, Dom.
Tony Banks, too. I have to throw it in there. I think he played for the Ravens. But Don Capers, man, he was assistant coach for Pittsburgh, right? Coming up with that zone blitz scheme with Dick LeBeau for all these years. Also became head coach of the Panthers during their expansion years.
He was a great football man.
Frank, look at that. Frank Gore, running back.
But he might be one on the chopping block as the 49ers beat the Texans 20-17, which means top 5 picks. Houston, they're now on the clock, Tom. The draft, the last weekend in April,
All right, so let's take a look at this. I think Houston, number 1, they took, what the hell was it, Mario Williams? I think out of North Carolina State. Could be wrong about that. The defensive end, I think he went number 1, right? I think he went number 1. Reggie Bush went number 2, so he was top 2 pick. Tennessee ended up taking Vince Young. 4, I want to say, was an offensive lineman. It wasn't the Brickishaw Ferguson. And Green Bay at number 5. I honestly couldn't tell you who the hell Green Bay took at that pick. I'm trying to think right now. I have no idea who they took in that number 5 pick.
Saints will pick 2nd. The Titans will pick 3rd. The Jets will pick 4th. The Packers will pick 5th in the NFL draft, or as they call it, the annual selection meeting. We want to get ahead of ourselves there. Can't get Mel Kiper going too soon here on the NFL draft. Well, he has been a bastion of warmth and a pretty darn good football coach as well. Dick Vermeil, though, telling his team last night that this would be it. The Kansas City Chiefs, his tenure here in Kansas City for 5 years would come to a close, although they had a shot today to extend that tenure if they could win and stay in the playoff hunt. Here we go from Arrowhead as the Chiefs and Dick Vermeil. Would there be one more game for Vermeil? Well, Larry Johnson became a starter in the middle of the season, and he's put up, well, the single-season best rushing yardage mark ever by the Kansas City Chiefs. 49 yards, Grandmama. Larry Johnson,
That's right.
13-3.
That's right. He had the same name as a Charlotte Hornet legend, Larry Johnson.
One of many hugs today for Dick.
Absolutely. Dick Vermeil saying goodbye to his football team.
And then the toss to Johnson. He's whoop! Let's go the other way against the Bengals, who certainly aren't stopping anybody running. And look at the block.
Yeah, read the over pursuit right there. One block to get by, and Odell Thurman touching him as he gets into the end zone.
20-3 Chiefs. More Larry Johnson. Third quarter, 3rd and 1. No, it would be 3rd and a 20-yard burst into the end zone. Johnson has 2 200-yard games this year. Tiki has 3 200-yard games. 201 for Johnson. 2-minute warning. There's Vermeil on the scoreboard. There he is on the sideline. Dick Vermeil hugging a quarterback who's with him in St. Louis, Trent Green. And then the Gatorade and the Kansas City Chiefs. You know what, Coach? If you're going out like this, we're going to make sure you're going out in style. The Chiefs, 10-6. We're hoping that Pittsburgh would lose, and so they maul the Cincinnati Bengals team.
Wow, Kitna, I'll be damned. He was quarterback for the Lions. They got their ass kicked, I want to say, Stafford's rookie season against Atlanta. And he was absolutely having a temper tantrum on the sideline. But Kitna, only 76 yards passing. He was quarterback for the Seahawks for a minute there, too. My God, I think that's Rudy Johnson at running back. 10 carries, only 18 yards. There's Chad Johnson right there. 4 catches, 55 yards. Trent Green, 23 of 29, 344. Larry Johnson, man, 201 yards on the ground and 3 touchdowns. This makes me want to bust out Madden 05 or 06. We might be doing that after watching this. This is fun shit.
Who ends up the 3rd seed anyway.
Sorry to pause it. One more stat. Look at this. Total yards, 537 against 161 for Cincinnati.
In the AFC, going to the playoffs for the first time since 1990. 37-3. Larry Johnson, 750 yards rushing this year.
Yeah, the second half of the season, there was not a runner as good as Larry Johnson in this league. With all due respect to everybody else that carried the football, he set another standard for a half a season. Now, can he do it for a whole season next year?
The Chiefs were hoping that Pittsburgh would lose. Meanwhile, in Pittsburgh, for their game against the Lions, you talk about emotion. The bus How do you think they like him in Pittsburgh? Just listen in. At running back, the 5th all-time leading rusher in NFL history from Notre Dame, rides the bus, number 36, Jerome Bettis. What a great moment. Bill Cowher making sure he's introduced. And very early on, Antoine Randall between defenders, and he could go all the way.
Poor Detroit Lions. Antoine Randall, man, do it all. Kind of like Cordell Stewart was out there for Pittsburgh back in the day. I think they won the Super Bowl this season. The more I'm thinking about it, because that was Jerome Bettis' last year. Yeah, 2006, when they had it at Ford Field. So Steelers are your Super Bowl champions. Took me about, 20 minutes into the video to figure that one out. But Randall into Indiana.
81 yards, 7-0 Steelers blocking down the field.
Yeah, take another look. Clint Crewalt on Casey Fitzsimmons right there. Going to spring Randall L down the sideline, and once Randall L gets to the sideline, it's all over. He's only got the punter between he and the goal line.
Give Detroit credit. They tried to hang in for Coach Dick Duran, Joey Harrington, and Marcus
Touchdown.
Pollard. Touchdown, 7-7. The Lions led it 14-7. But the bus, take off the hat, put on the big hat, and touchdown, 1 yard. You know, he goes the short blast. We're tied at 14. Under the 2-minute warning, Bettis, 5 yard, touchdown, 21-14 Pittsburgh. Now in the third quarter, Ben Roethlisberger to the co-MVP of the team, Hines Ward. Keep smiling, because for 119 consecutive...
Hines Ward, one of the toughest wide receivers you'll ever see out there. And I'm talking about throwing some blocks, some haymaker blocks. Hines Ward, another name we haven't heard in a long damn time.
Consecutive games, he's got a catch. Same drive, you'll never guess who gets it, Tom, at the 4.
I bet it's Jerome Bettis.
Really? Here it is. And the bus. 3 touchdowns for him. 94 total in his career. 28-14. Now Big Ben. Thumb. What the? Get down. Oh, he gets down. 35-21 Steelers. And the bus leaves to this. Jerome Bettis waving goodbye in what could be his last game at Heinz Field. The Steelers win a playoff berth, but as the 6th seed, there's no way they can have a home game, although...
Look at that fast Willie Parker out there. 26 carries, 135 yards. What a running back tandem they had with Jerome Bettis in short yardage situations. And Willie Parker, fast Willie Parker, ripping it up. Wasn't he Super Bowl MVP? I'll have to double check that, but I know he had a pretty good Super Bowl, at least a long run he had. And Roethlisberger only threw it 16 times. Look at the Lions. We got to break down the Lions here, right? Joey Harrington, 17 of 33, 212, 3 touchdowns. Not bad, no picks. Jones, Kevin Jones, out of Virginia Tech. Check this out for the Lions. This just never gets old. 4-28, their last 32 road games at this point. And we're in 2006, 2005, 2006 season. Man.
Bettis could have a home playoff game. His hometown is Detroit. That's where they're playing the Super Bowl. So the Steelers beat the Lions 35-21. They've won 4 in a row. They ran for 199 yards today. Bettis, 13,662 yards and 94 touchdowns. But, so the Steelers are in. That means it is indeed the final game for Coach Dick Vermeil, his wife Carol. You know what? He's been a gift to everybody that's come close to him, especially his players. Not a dry eye.
It's the right time for me to go. It's the right time for me to leave the Chiefs. They don't need a year-in guy every year saying, is he going to be here? You know, it's just not fair. And I just wish I was 10 years younger, you know. But, hey, it is not an age factor anyway, guys. It's just time. You know, I've got the stamina and everything, but it's just time.
Chiefs finished 10-6, by the way, just the 4th team since they expanded the playoffs to win 10 games and not make the postseason. Dick Vermeil has been Coach of the Year in the NFL, been Coach of the Year in college. He was at UCLA, remember? He won a Rose Bowl. He's been Coach of the Year in junior college. He's been Coach of the Year in high school. and he's been man of the year more times than that, Tom. We'll miss him, but he won't be far from football.
No, a great coach with the Philadelphia Eagles, with the Rams, with the Kansas City Chiefs, long-tenured coach, took some time off in between, came back, was just as good in another era. And the thing that strikes me about Dick Vermeil is that so many coaches skeptical about getting close to their players, want to stay aloof and, keep some distance between them. That was never a fear of Dick Vermeil's. I think that he got close to his players, and they appreciated it, and they showed him that in return in their play on the field.
Super Bowl win, Super Bowl runner. I mean, he's done it all. We'll miss him,
Yes.
but he said it is just time. Now, quick, it's a historical night on the show, Tom. Do you know what the first highlight in 1987 when the show started, first highlight in the history of NFL
Scared to look.
Primetime? Well, no, we're not going to show it. Thank
Oh,
God.
okay.
I couldn't burn those tapes. It was Miami at New England in
Oh, okay.
Sullivan
All right,
Stadium.
all right.
Fitting that they're playing again today, and there's more history in this game. But who knew? Well, 20 years ago, the Patriots had their first Super Bowl team. There's 14, Steve Broden, Steve Nelson, 57, Ricky Williams, 100 yards last week, and a quick hit for Ricky up the middle, touchdown, 7-0. Miami
Ricky,
had 108
run.
yards rushing on the day. Tom Brady played just a little bit, and he's going to go back to pass and hit Deion Branch from touchdown. Brady leaves after the first quarter.
Deion Branch, I think he ended up leaving after the season, went to Seattle, right? If I'm not mistaken. I know. No, Deion Branch. Yeah, Deion Branch, one of the one of the wide receivers they had, went to Seattle. His career fizzled out after that.
We're tied at 7. Miami comes in winning 5 in a row. New England comes in winning 4 in a row. Matt White Castle doles out the square hamburgers. He hits the Tim Dwight. Timmy Dwight's in there.
Man, there ain't nothing wrong with some damn White Castles. Because White Castle, let's just talk about this for a damn minute here. If you want to check the highlights, I guess pass over this. But again, White Castle, imagine if White Castle made a big hamburger. Holy shit, a big square one. They're great how thin they cook them. But imagine a big-ass hamburger from White Castle. Matt Castle, who I was going to mention before he brought up White Castles, can't get it off my damn mind now. I'm going to get a crave case inside my fat-ass stomach. But Matt Castle, man, ended up going to Kansas City. I think the old GM, Scott Pioli, if I'm not mistaken, from the Patriots, went over there, become GM, signed Matt Castle, really kind of fizzled out. I think he played for the Vikings, too, at one point.
For a touchdown, Castle, USC playing more today than he did behind Leinart and Carson Palmer. Now, actually, wait a minute, Doug Flutie? What?
Drop kick that shit.
It's a drop kick! A drop kick! Doug Flutie, another miracle, another trick up his sleeve. It's 25-20. Look, him and the coach, Bill Belichick, love the old-time football. 1941. You remember Scooter McLean for Chicago, Wrigley Field. Good in the championship game as the Bears beat the New York Football Giants. That was the last drop kick 64 years ago. Today, Castle to Ben Watson. No time left on the clock. Patriots down by 8. No, they're down by 2. Now, the drop kick won't do it. It's just 1 point. Just like an Castle, incomplete. And Miami, and Belichick's good friend Nick Saban, end the season with 6 straight wins. They beat the Patriots 28-26.
Wow, Nick Saban. I forgot he did coach the Dolphins. He made one of the offensive linemen cry. Who was that he made cry? There was an offensive lineman out there that he was dogging out in practice. That dude ended up crying about it. Kind of like, who was it? Not Perkins, but Glenn Davis when he was on the bench for the Celtics. Remember when Kevin Durant had him going to tears?
New England ends up the 4 seed to snap that 4-game winning streak. We told you Ricky had 108 yards, but in a game that many Patriots, like Corey Dillon, etc., and Brady hardly played, and others didn't play, the Patriots lose for the first time in a month. Now, wait a minute, a drop kick. Wait a minute, you thought you'd seen it all? 1941? Let's take a look. Here it is, Doug Flutie. Now, where in the world would they come up with an idea like this? Dougie Flutie, who long wanted to be the guy to do it in the NFL, well, the coach spoke about it afterwards.
We went through it a couple of weeks ago, and, he had mentioned that, actually Chris Berman brought it up initially about how he had seen him do it up in Canada, and so, we had a couple tryouts out there, and Doug shanked a couple, but he hit a couple pretty good ones, and so, thought if we had an opportunity to do it here in this one of these last couple of games, that we'd give him a shot.
Wow, the legend. Okay. My gig is up. Thank you, Coach. Hey, Doug Flutie.
That's great, though.
He used to
That's
kick
great.
it 40 yards at Buffalo and drop kick him.
Coach said you'll never see it again.
He knew the
either.
last one in the CFL was 1988, but the last extra point you saw in 1941, the last field goal drop kick, Dutch Clark, Hall of Famer, 1937. The ball was rounder, like the coach said.
Right.
What an opportunity. We saw history
That was
today.
good.
Thank you,
Great.
guys. Meanwhile, you'll see the Patriots don't know if they'll be trying drop kicks. The second game on ABC's wild card doubleheader.
I think this game right here, if I'm not mistaken, because I remember watching it, believe it or not, what are we talking? God, 17 years ago. Holy shit. I think Carson Palmer blew out his knee in this game when Pittsburgh took on Cincinnati.
The Jags at the Patriots, the 12-4 Jags at a better record than the Patriots. The Patriots at home. The late game on ABC Saturday. The other AFC game Sunday, the rubber match. Steelers at Bengals. Pittsburgh has won in Cincy impressively. Cincy has won in Pittsburgh impressively. So, Tom, with the Broncos, the 2 seed, and the Colts, the 1 seed on the bye. Very quick look. Jacksonville, kind of the sleeping chair. But New England, you put today aside, that front seven and Tom Brady and Adam Vinatieri and Bill Belichick, I kind of like that package.
Well, I think they're playing about the way they want to be playing this time of year, and they're playoff ready. I think that the one worry I would have right now is Teddy Bruschi and his health as they get ready to go into the playoffs. Don't worry, no problem. Going to run the ball well, and offensively, Tom Brady, I've already said, is my MVP. But I think that it's important to be playing well when you get to this point.
And where's
of the season.
Cincy in
And
this?
Cincinnati,
Because Pittsburgh is playing well.
Cincinnati right now, I think, has to be disappointed into the way that they're kind of limping into the playoffs. The Jaguars were out to make that statement today. We're playing well. We're playoff ready. I think that right now, Cincinnati's the one team you'd be a little bit concerned about the way they're coming into the playoffs.
They're at home. Will that help? Pittsburgh's won there. That's
You know,
got to help the Steelers.
I think it will help some, but I think, I've already said Pittsburgh may be more comfortable on the road.
Yes.
They lost 4 championship games at home. So if you're Cincinnati, you've got, I think Coach Lewis knows he's got a lot of work to do in the next week.
That AFC grid is stacked, Tommy. It
As
is
good a six
stacked.
as I've ever seen.
It is. Pittsburgh at the 6th team, hasn't lost for a month. I mean, very impressive. So the playoffs start next week. Now, what about the NFC? We'll be back on NFL Primetime. What about Brett Favre? A playoff perennial, not this year. Would this be it in Green Bay? Well, all eyes are on number 4. Meanwhile, the NFC South, up for grabs, literally.
Inside the Numbers. Brought to you by Visa, proud sponsor of the NFL. With
Happy New Year's Day. Once again, everybody, welcome back to NFL Primetime. If they say your life passes before your eyes, before you go, then in some way, in football terms, perhaps it was odd that the last game for Brett Favre and the Packers on their schedule brought to town Mike Holmgren, his one-time coach. They won a Super Bowl together and now coaching the best team in the NFC, the Seattle Seahawks. Favre, he doesn't know yet, hadn't said, but a historic career. Might it be the last time we would ever see him at the frozen tundra at Lambeau Field?
Little do we know, right? I think he ended up sticking around one more season. They lost to the Giants, right, in the NFC Championship game, that blizzard game. I think the Giants ended up kicking a game-winning field goal. The year that the Patriots went 16-0 and lost, the Giants still can't believe they lost. And obviously, would go on to the Jets for about, a year? I think he only played 1 year out there and then went to Minnesota, where they would get to the NFC Championship game and lose, I believe, to the Saints, if I'm not mistaken.
Brett Favre, all eyes on number 4, one of the most storied quarterbacks ever in the NFL, and there's his old coach, a hug before the game. Oh, by the way, some history.
Shaun
for
Alexander.
Alexander. Yes, the NFL record for touchdowns in one season was 27. No, it's 28. Congratulations to Shaun Alexander's ragtime band. New NFL record, the Seahawks lead 7-6. And then, after Tiki Barber's game last night, Alexander needed a certain amount of yards. He got it. He ends with 1,880, the 9th best total single season in the history of the league. Congratulations.
Shaun Alexander and Tiki Barber, that's funny. I think they used to call Shaun Alexander the third twin because all of them looked alike. Obviously, Tiki Barber and his brother, the corner, the running back was Tiki Barber. The corner, I can't remember his name. Was it Ronald Barber? But Shaun Alexander looked just like him. You can fit him as a trio for triplets. Alexander, I think, would win MVP this year, too.
To Shaun Alexander, the Russian champ. This is what
give
they
me that.
came for. Brett Favre didn't have a TD in December. It's Antonio Chapman on New Year's Day. Pack lead 20-14.
Oh, he's going deep.
Favre
Donald Driver.
into the hands of Donald Duke and the driver. 59 yards. Boy, it's been a treat to watch him all through his career, showing you these highlights, but too much of this year, Tom. He loses the ball.
Yeah, Favre loses the ball right there to see how
Oh,
much
wow.
recovery.
That's,
You can see Coach Sherman.
what was it? Yeah, Mike Sherman. Holy shit. He got into it with Warren Sapp, I think, after a game. Warren Sapp told him, put a helmet on. I think he smoked one of the offensive tackles for Green Bay during like a fumble or an interception, something like that.
On the sideline.
Told Mike Sherman, put a helmet on.
23-17, Green Bay, less than a minute to go. Yes, in your hearts. And number 4, Brett Favre, after 3 straight handoffs, comes off. And what a great family he has. His wife, Deanna, and the Favre family upstairs. And the game ball from Aaron. There he gets it. Aaron Rodgers. And there's Coach Holmgren at the end. Brett Favre waving to the fans. Hadn't said yet, nor should he. He's allowed to sleep on this. The Packers, at least for Favre, go out a winner over the Seahawks, snapping their 11th.
Sorry to pause it here, guys. Not first time I apologize here, but Cynical Wallace, look at that. Forgot he was a quarterback out there. They had him in there for... Oh, damn it. I just had his name in my head, too, when I was looking at it. Who the hell was it? He's on ESPN now. He's got a brother, too. I can't remember the damn name. Who the hell was the quarterback for Seattle when they went to the Super Bowl? Oh, God, I can picture his face, too. Damn it. That's going to drive me nuts. I'm going to pause it halfway through when it pops in my head. But Cynical Wallace getting some yards in there.
7-game winning streak. Seattle goes in as the top dog in the NFC. 23-17, though. Seattle loses to Green Bay. Chance of one more year. Favre would throw for 259 yards, which, if you add it all up, 53,000.
Hasselbeck, Matt Hasselbeck.
615. That's 30 and a half miles passing, Tom. Everything else, pass attempts, completions, touchdown passes, and he now has 396 second on all these to Dan Marino. Oh, by the way, will we ever see 221 straight starts broken? That record as the Iron Man, truly 14 years as quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. And there's just so many memories of Brett Favre. But I think his toughness in a position that there's no way you can start every game for 14 years, Tom. We should start there.
The numbers tell me that he has been the most competitive player at his position, NFL quarterback, which I think is the toughest in sports in the history of this league. That's the numbers. My eye as a football player tell me that he has been the greatest possibly in the history of this game to ever play, not just because of the consistency on the field, but the level of the quality of play.
You know what's funny about that, and we all know the stuff that Favre's been dealing with offseason, he brought definitely upon himself with all those scandals going on, I think, down there in Mississippi. But it is funny, though, speaking after his last game, or they thought would be his last game, you really don't hear Brett Favre's name mentioned when we talk about top 5 quarterbacks of all time, do you? You got Peyton, you got Brady, Marino, Elway. You know, all those guys get mentioned, but Brett Favre's kind of been the outside looking in. But if you can see the numbers that they just showed, when he retired, he was definitely had it going on up there as far as the stats. But, yeah, Favre really doesn't get mentioned anymore as being the top quarterback.
It's just been outstanding. He played great over a long, long period of time. And I've always said to you that for me, is what defines greatness.
You know, and we've...
Look at that breaking news at the bottom there. Got breaking news, guys, even though we're about 17 years too late. Mike Tice fired from Minnesota and never went on to coach a team again, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he ever was a head coach.
Sat here and watching every week. You know, we watch up in the room and then you go back to pass, and everybody stops when those things are happening. But I don't know if this is going to be it for Brett. It's his decision. My gut feeling says that it's over. He'll decide when it's his time. I'll think of the little kid running around that Superdome field when the Packers beat the Patriots in the man that played a day after his dad passed away, and that amazing performance on Monday night. That duel he had last year with Peyton Manning, kind of like the older fella, the master and the youngster, and those pushing.
You know, we're going to check that game out. I do remember that game when it was Peyton Manning against Brett Favre from 2004. I do remember that game, that primetime game. We'll have to check that one out.
And shoving with Warren Sapp, just kind of being a guy.
Gunslinger.
He's a gunslinger. He's the last of a breed. And if this is the last time, Brett, nobody did it better. When we return on this edition of NFL Primetime, we still have a playoff spot up. The Redskins have to win in Philadelphia, the defending NFC champs, who you knew would come out hard. And the Bucs are in, but could they win the division? Saints gave them a tussle. Steven.
Wow, Steven Jackson, holy shit. Yeah, from the Rams, came out of, what was it, Oregon State. Big running back. Oh, this dude's fast forwarding. Hold on. Sorry, guys.
Welcome back to Prime.
Copy of the It's Just Lunch Guide to Dating in Your City. Call 800-99-LUNCH.
What the hell is this dating app? Boy. What the hell is this shit? Dating for busy professionals. Well, that's not me.
And now the NFC playoff.
Time, presented by Miller Lite.
The playoff picture in which Tampa Bay found out last night by virtue of a giant win that they'd be in the playoffs, but the NFC South division up for grabs. Tampa had a shot at that. Carolina had to win to get in the playoffs, and the Washington Redskins had to win at Philadelphia to get in the playoffs. All this had to happen, or else Dallas would have a chance on Sunday Night Football. So here we go. Let's see how the NFC playoffs were decided. Carolina, they beat Mike Vick for the first time in 6 tries earlier this year. And in Atlanta, they lost 7 in a row. And very early
right there.
booking sacks. Jake Delhomme, daylight come, and he had to Delhomme because look at that. Little rip of pants.
They ripped him a new ass right there.
Little equipment problem. However, it would be Atlanta that would play the rest of the game with their pants down. A pathetic performance by the Falcons has Delhomme to Ricky Prohl, shampooing for 12 yards, 7-0 Panthers. We scored 7-3 in the first in Atlanta. Deshaun Foster. I know Carolina hadn't been around that long, but they never had a run from scrimmage this long. Good.
He gone.
All the way. 70 yards, Deshaun Foster. It used to be Barry, but why don't we bring it back? Deshaun Bananas Foster. And
Barry Foster from Pittsburgh.
then what happens here with Atlanta?
Well, you take a look. Defense is a team game. You got to contain, turn it back. I think the outside guy does a good job of turning it back to the defense, but the pursuit is not there. Deshaun Foster down the sideline for a score.
And then Delhomme to Steve Smith. What a year he's had this year. 103 catches for him, and yes, holy makahiki ho. That's Happy New Year in Hawaiian. And yes, he's going to the Pro Bowl. And in the end, it's John Fox. And the Carolina Panthers just lay one into Atlanta. 44-11. So they sweep a team that they could never beat. And as we said, Foster ended up with 165 yards rushing, over 400 yards in total offense for a Panther team that when they look good, they look really good. So Carolina knows they're in the playoffs. Could they win the division if Tampa Bay falters? John Gruden and the Bucs in the playoffs for the first time since they were in the Super Bowl 3 years ago. Jim Haslett, season.
Jim Haslett, man, it's so crazy seeing these old coaches. We just seen Jim Moore out there and Fox, that last game between Atlanta and Carolina. Seeing these guys out here, Gruden, and I already forgot the coach's name out there for New Orleans. But man, good stuff.
You wouldn't wish on anybody with the Saints have had. Chris Sims, Joey Galloway. Galloway, 10 touchdown catches.
Joey Galloway, the speedster out of Ohio State out there in the Big Ten. He played for Seattle for a very long time.
This year, again, it's not the highest number, but it's a Bucs record. 7-0 Bucs. Michael Pittman.
He's gone.
Or almost gone. He could go all the way.
Oh, just
down
short.
At the 1 yard line.
Who was the quarterback for Tampa? I guess we'll find out here in a sec. I probably should have paused to ask that question out loud. But Brad Johnson left. Obviously went to Minnesota. I can't remember who the quarterback is for them at the time. It's not Garcia.
Dwight Smith, the former Buck, pulls him down. 64 yards for Pittman, and then.
Oh, Chris Sims. Excuse me. Chris Sims, the son of Phil Sims. Big lefty. That's who it is.
A couple plays later, Sims to Galloway. 14-3. Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and watch the move that Galloway is going to make on Fakir Brown right here. Just spins him down, gets outside. Nice delivery of the football by Sims.
17-10 at the half. Now the score is 17-13. And Ronald McKinnon's going to pick the ball off with 12 minutes to go. The Saints are still in this game, Tom, in the fourth quarter. But John Gruden says let's challenge it off the tip, and it was a good challenge because the ball hit the ground first. As a result, Tampa kept the ball. They hit a field goal. It's 20-13, and then defense. Dwayne White, fumble! Rumbling, bumbling, stumbling away from Todd Bauman. Touchdown, defense, Tampa. How many times have we said that?
That's been a staple for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers since the time Tony Dungy was there.
And so the Buccaneers have won the NFC South. Congratulations for Coach Gruden. And 27-13, the Bucs beat the Saints. Cadillac had 81 yards running. You saw that Pittman had the big run, and so Tampa Bay.
Wow, Cadillac Williams, God, he had a really bad knee injury. Forgot about him out there for Tampa. Who was this running back out of the backfield? He had Ronnie Brown. I think he went to the Eagles out of Auburn, both of them, though. I think he went to the Eagles. Brown we're talking about. Or Miami. Was it Miami? I think it was Miami because they were doing the Wildcat shit back then.
Bay and Carolina in. And now, the Washington Redskins with a late kickoff have won 4 in a row for Joe Gibbs. They've doused Dallas and the Giants, scoring 35 points in each of their last 2 games. And Mark Brunell.
Wow, Mark Brunell.
Last week is starting. Text
Oh,
win.
give me that.
Mike to Sellers Market. Mike Sellers on the ball for Washington. Brunell not only does he recover fumbles, he catches touchdowns. 7-3 Skins. But give Philly, with everybody on IR, Tom, you got to give Philly the nod for coming to play, even if it's their last 60 months as NFC champ.
I think that's Cobb right there. He was another one of those backup quarterbacks who got a shitload of hype. Kevin Cobb, I think was his name.
Boom, we knew that they would play hard.
Nice
it was
pass,
just a
though.
matter
Holy
of,
shit.
did they have enough bullets in the gun, as we said this morning?
Mike McMahon to Reggie Brown, 10-7.
That was Mike McMahon. Pardon my damn French. Mike McMahon. Detroit Lion legend. Wow, yeah, he came out of Rutgers, if I'm not mistaken. Played for the Lions, was number 8 on the Lions. Everybody wanted him playing instead of Joey Harrington. That's when they had like Ty Detmer, Garcia. Mike McMahon was that quarterback on the bench that everybody always wanted to come in. Ended up playing for the Eagles. I forgot he was on Philly. My goodness.
Philadelphia, Brown had 2 today. Now game on. 17-10 Philly early third. Brunell to Santana Moss. What kind of season has he had? Stays in bounds. 54-yard completion. Sets up. Clinton Portis. Pitch right. Cuts in. Tied at 17.
Good old Clinton Portis, the Yortis. My buddy Phil, man, like I mentioned earlier, on Madden 05. Ripped everybody's ass with Clinton Portis. We would play like 10, 12 seasons in a row on there. Obviously, you can go through seasons and free agency, all that fun shit. Back when Madden really had it going on. But Madden 05, he had him on Minnesota, and he had Michael Vick. Marcus Vick. Michael's brother that we drafted over from the college game. And, man, you could not stop Clinton Portis. He would roll out, have Portis kind of go with him, and then if he wasn't covered where he could sneak it, with Vic, he would just toss it to Portis. I think Portis had a couple seasons. He had like 2,000 yards receiving and 2,000 yards catching out of the backfield with about 80 touchdowns between them, rushing and catching in the air out there. But, man, those were some fun times playing those old Madden games.
And the Redskins back in the hunt. David Akers from Louisville hits a field goal. It's 20-17. But then, here you go. Mike McMahon. He has in his hand the final envelope. Oh, boy.
Oh, picked
Tipped
off.
by Lamar Marshall. 4 picks for him this season. Next play for the Skins, it's Clinton Portis. Going right for the jugular. Whoop, with the spin. Whoop, with another spin. And watch this, Tommy. Into the air. Touchdown.
That's funny. He's doing spin moves because that's what Phil would do on there with Clinton Portis hitting that circle button or the B button. A whoop. Gone.
So 1 play and the Skins have the lead.
Yeah, instinctive running here. Clinton Portis' run designed to go to the right side. He spins away, gets to the left side, has a nice speed to get outside, and then to get into the end zone.
And now Philly still has a chance, though. 24-20. Coy Detmer is in. More defense. Washington. Phillip Daniels. Fumble! Sean Taylor on it. And no Eagle is on it. And Taylor is gone.
Sean Taylor. Now, someone did a video on YouTube here a few years back. God, it might have been 10 years ago, where they had basically every big play that Sean Taylor did, I think including all his tackles, when he got to the NFL. And I'm telling you guys, because he obviously died tragically, got shot, if you don't know that. But Sean Taylor, I think would have been the greatest free safety, or safety, maybe defensive player of all time, but I don't think I'm exaggerating. Check that out. I'll try to find the link on here if I can for the video, but someone put a great compilation together of Sean Taylor. This dude was 6'3", solid 220, blasting fools. To do some justice to Sean Taylor, that's a name that should not be forgotten during the during these NFL years that are going by. I think he has been forgotten, and it shouldn't be like that, because I'm telling you, he would have been right up there with Ed Reed. Sean Taylor was right up there. Troy Polamalu. Who was the other one that was out there for the Colts? Doss, if I think of his name correctly. Can't remember.
So McMahon, then Detmer, the key mistakes. Washington flying into the playoffs for Joe Gibbs. Year 2 return. Congratulations, Joe. The Skins are in, means Dallas eliminated, and Washington wins it 31-20. So they've scored 101 points in the last 3 weeks as a Skins team that is now clearly rolling 5 straight wins. And so the Redskins will play at the Bucs. This was one of the games of the year. What was it?
It's gonna be great.
35. That's on ABC. The first game on Wild Card Saturday at 4:30. Skins at Bucs. This one, Panthers at Giants. The Bucs game on Sunday at the Meadowlands, where the Giants were 8-1 this year, looms as a large game. Like we said, the Skins and Bucs. That was a wild first game played on this very field. But look, Carolina on a given day looks as good as anybody just about, I know, Seattle in the conference. But the Giants are tough at home. That's a tough game, Tom.
Well, I think you've got Steve Smith, who's played as well as any receiver in the league this year, the most explosive guy in the league to me. I got Tiki Barber on the other side of the field, maybe the most consistent runner other than Sean Alexander. And this is the time of year you get excited. It's going to be great.
It's going to be great. And, of course, you already know that Seattle and Chicago have the byes in the NFC. We're not saying goodbye. We have a lot to do. We got game balls. We'll take another look at the wild card round. We'll take a little look back. And it was an emotional and memorable day in the NFL. Can we cap it off?
Boomer, nobody has been tougher. Nobody's been better. Nobody's given us more enjoyment than Brett Favre. If this is the end for him, he has been, to me, one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the history of this league. A pleasure to watch. He gets my game ball.
Nobody was more inspirational this last week than Tony Dungy. No one should have. There's his son, Eric. Our game ball goes to Tony Dungy for just coming back and inspiring a team, a couple of cities, and a couple of old guys here sitting on the set of NFL Primetime. Once again, ABC's Wild Card Saturday. The early game, Redskins at the Buccaneers, kick off at 4:30. We'll see you for the pregame show. Jaguars at the Patriots. That's the late game in New England. Then Sunday, the Panthers are at the Giants. That's the early game in the NFC. And then the Steelers at the Bengals. That wraps up the 4 games. That'll be the AFC game later, kickoff on Sunday. Now, you know what? We dug something up here, Tom. I'm afraid to look. 19
I told you I was afraid to look.
Can you look? Go ahead. Please. Let's see.
Good evening once again, everybody. I'm Chris Berman. Welcome to ESPN's debut of NFL Primetime, and we hope this becomes a habit through the 16 weeks of the regular season and on to the playoffs, as we're going to delve into the ball games throughout the Sunday each week in the NFL like nobody has before, and we like to think nobody will thereafter. And if you were with us on game day, you saw us introduced before Tom Jackson, a man who played and excelled 14 years at outside linebacker for the Denver Broncos.
Oh, God.
I don't know. Is that us? I don't know what to say.
Here's another life.
Here's what I want to say. We want to thank all of us, the players and the coaches and those in the NFL, for providing us excitement every week through these 19 years. We want to thank you viewers, some old-time viewers, some new-time maybe football fans who we helped nurture a little bit. It's a privilege to come in your homes every Sunday night for 19 years. We'd like to thank the ladies and gentlemen who are behind the scenes, some with us right here, right now, others that have gone far and wide over 19 years. They have the hardest job in television, making us look good. It was a labor of love for them, and we want to thank everybody that's ever worked on the show. And partner, you've become my best friend.
I echo those thoughts.
enjoyed that.
A privilege to occupy this seat.
Thank you, Tommy. Although
You haven't aged a bit. I haven't. I don't know what happened here. But we will say this. We're on to a new time. It's Monday Night Football on ESPN. Primetime is on to a new time, new location. It's going to be great. We're going to the same 19 years of joy. We're going to keep putting it on you. So Happy New Year, and fittingly.
Happy New Year.
Fittingly. Tom Jackson, I'm Chris Berman. Thanks for watching NFL Primetime.
God damn, can we bring that back? Man. 17 years ago, final episode NFL Primetime. Why the hell did they take it off the air? The only thing I can think of is I know NFL Network was really starting to come into its own at that point. But damn, we got to have some NFL Primetime. Like I said, I think I said in the opener. I don't remember if I did. It's been about 40 damn minutes. It's been a long video. Thanks for sticking around if you had, though. That was fun. But, you know, I love Football Night in America. That's cool. But Baseball Tonight, another one that ESPN took away, and NFL Primetime, man, those are the staples of my childhood, loving sports and getting into it. I'm 40, so I was definitely in my prime years watching Baseball Tonight and NFL Primetime. Please bring that shit back. Well, if you made it this far, it was fun. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe. See you guys.